Naruto and his team quickly flashed through the forest. After scouting, Kiba and Neji discovered that they were getting closer to their target. Along the way, they encountered no traps, which suggested that the enemy believed only Jirobo could catch up to them. Shikamaru decided to take advantage of the enemy's underestimation. Meanwhile, Kidōmaru and others were not far away. Sakon complained about Jirobo being too slow, but just as he finished speaking, Jirobo appeared. Tayuya, always temperamental, scolded him. "You fat pig, don't think about slacking off. Hurry up and carry the coffin, that's your task." Jirobo responded indifferently, but the other three immediately stopped in their tracks as they realized that this person was not Jirobo. During the conversation, Kidōmaru tossed the coffin to Tayuya, instructing her and Sakon to keep moving. Once their identities were exposed, Shikamaru immediately punched at Kidōmaru, who easily caught the attack. Jirobo always cautioned Tayuya about her language, which is why Shikamaru's disguise was seen through. Kidōmaru then spat out a web to bind Shikamaru. Before he could continue, Naruto surrounded him from behind. However, Kidōmaru spat out a white substance, molded it into a huge spiderweb, and firmly stuck Naruto's shadow clone. While Kidōmaru was in freefall, Kiba attacked with Gatsuga, but Kidōmaru grabbed a spider thread and dodged. Kiba, instead, got his feet tangled in a spider thread preset by the opponent. Kidōmaru then hung upside down on a tree trunk. Neji suddenly launched a surprise attack from behind, but was once again dodged by Kidōmaru. Soon, Neji also fell into the opponent's trap and couldn't move. At this point, all four had completely fallen. Kidōmaru wrapped Neji into a cocoon. Naruto realized that this spider web was unusual, as ordinary swords could not cut through it. According to Neji's Byakugan observation, there was chakra flowing through Kidōmaru's spider silk, indicating some kind of ninjutsu. Seeing Naruto unable to move, Kidōmaru whimsically used ninpo, spider sticky gold. The originally soft spider silk instantly became extremely hard. Kidōmaru then threw out a dart, and one of Naruto's clones immediately dissipated. The threat of death slowly approached Naruto as Kidōmaru continuously threw darts, and Naruto's clones kept decreasing. Just as only one remained, Kidōmaru, who was complaining about the boredom of the game, threw out the last dart. But then he realized that all the trapped Narutos were just clones, and the real Naruto had already attacked from behind. However, Kidōmaru quickly neutralized Naruto's assault and took control of him. Just as Kidōmaru was about to strike Naruto, Neji, who was supposed to be wrapped in a cocoon, suddenly appeared. The Hyuga clan's Jyuken, which can destroy any chakra product, proved that only Neji could deal with Kidōmaru. Neji didn't hesitate and said, "Let's go. I'll handle this guy." However, from Akamaru's continuous retreat, it was evident that this person was even more formidable than Jirobo. But Neji understood that without a one-for-one mindset, completing the mission would be impossible. They had to protect not only Sasuke but also the bonds of Konohagakure. Just as Iruka had said at the third Hokage's funeral, many people die from missions or wars, but everyone holds something dear in their hearts, and emotions deepen over time. For this reason, risking one's life needs no justification. Those who cherish bonds would do so. Neji stared intently at Naruto and said, "Your eyes are even more perceptive than mine. Go." Sasuke is still in the darkness. With that, Naruto, Shikamaru, and Kiba did not hesitate any longer and immediately set off. Kidōmaru tried to pursue with spider silk, but Neji activated his Byakugan and used Jyuken to cut off all his spider webs. Faced with such a powerful opponent, Kidōmaru also became interested. He spat out countless spider webs to block Neji's movements. While Neji dodged continuously and defended with Jyuken, a lapse allowed Kidōmaru to seize an opportunity. Kidōmaru noticed Neji's special eyes and the sharp chakra released from his fingers, which was his power. Thus, Kidōmaru thought that by trapping Neji's hands, he would no longer be able to cut the spider silk. Kidōmaru spat out a spider sticky gold, preparing to harvest Neji's life. Neji slowly closed his eyes and gathered strength, instantly breaking through the spider silk's restraint. Kidōmaru's attack missed, and Neji quickly closed in on Kidōmaru. It turned out Jyuken was not limited to just the hands. He could release chakra from all the acupoints on his body. Now that Kidōmaru had entered Neji's attack range, Kidōmaru tried to dodge hastily, but Neji didn't give him a chance to escape. Faced with Hakarokuju Yonshio, Kidōmaru could hardly parry and was fiercely blasted away. But to Neji's surprise, before the dust settled, Kidōmaru had already gotten up. It turned out that Kidōmaru had wrapped his entire body in hardened spider silk, and his abilities seemed to complement each other perfectly. His spider silk was not limited to just his mouth. It could also be secreted from the sweat glands all over his body. The spider silk covering his entire body could block the invasion of chakra, rendering Neji's continued use of Jyuken futile. Meanwhile, Kidōmaru was also analyzing Neji's abilities. The troublesome Jyuken was clearly a close-range attack, so he prepared to attack Neji's defensive blind spots from a distance. The next second, Kidōmaru disappeared from his spot. Neji constantly scanned the surroundings with his Byakugan, while Kidōmaru hid in the trees and launched a surprise attack with a kunai. Neji, who was on guard, quickly dodged, but he didn't realize that the kunai thrown by Kidōmaru was just a decoy, followed by a barrage of spider-sticky gold arrows. In a moment of urgency, Neji could only use Daytime Tiger for all-around defense. Seeing the arrows being deflected, Kidōmaru was shocked. Neji, who had deflected the attack, threw a kunai back in retaliation. At this moment, Kidōmaru finally realized that the Byakugan not only could see the flow of chakra, but also had almost a 360-degree field of view. Long-distance combat was disadvantageous for Neji. This move was to force Kidōmaru to reveal himself. But Kidōmaru activated the first stage of the cursed seal. Neji noticed that the opponent's chakra had been greatly enhanced, and his appearance reminded him of Sasuke. Kidōmaru used Kuchiyose no Jutsu to summon a spider. Since the opponent defended by rotating chakra, he decided to hinder the rotation. The giant spider's abdomen was slashed open, and countless small spiders swarmed towards Neji. Neji immediately defended with Daytime Tiger, but his chakra got entangled by the small spider's webs, forcing him to stop the rotation. Kidōmaru took the opportunity to shoot arrows, but they were still deflected by Neji. Daytime Tiger was becoming difficult to maintain. In the ensuing fight, Neji could only dodge one by one, while Kidōmaru maintained a safe distance, launching a combined attack with spider silk and arrows. Having lost the defense of Daytime Tiger, Neji could only counter the small spiders with Hakarokuju Yonshio. But with the overwhelming number of spiders, Neji changed tactics and used Hyakuniju Hatishu to eliminate all the incoming spiders. Kidōmaru, hiding in the shadows, intensified the spider assault. Finally, an arrow pierced Neji's body, allowing Kidōmaru to further understand Neji's abilities. Neji seemed to accurately sense attacks within 50 meters, yet he had not dodged just now. Kidōmaru spurred the spiders again. Just as Neji was about to use Jyuken, an arrow struck him squarely in the back. Kidōmaru had finally deciphered the secret of Neji's eyes, intensifying his attack. Neji was repeatedly injured. It turned out that Byakugan was not perfect, and Daytime Tiger existed to compensate for this flaw. Neji, lying on the ground, struggled to stand up. The opponent's words, "You are destined not to win against me," reminded him of the times he had always defeated Lee in training. Back then, Neji was hailed as a genius by his peers, but in Lee's view, he could surpass a genius with effort. Back then, Neji concluded that no matter how hard you try, you cannot win against me. It's predetermined. He had said the same to Hinata until his fight with Naruto changed his mind. Naruto's steadfast beliefs changed him. Amidst these memories, Kidōmaru's attack came again. A huge spider smashed down towards Neji, who used Jyuken to completely shatter the spider. However, countless arrows followed immediately. Neji was hit by several arrows. Seeing this, Kidōmaru prepared to leave. Yet Neji stood up again, though unsteadily, fortunately avoiding fatal injury. Kidōmaru activated the second stage of the cursed seal. Kidōmaru transformed his spider silk into a bow and arrow with destructive power, his strongest attack mode. The golden arrows whistled towards Neji's back. A huge explosion sounded, yet Neji dodged the attack. At this moment, Neji finally confirmed that the opponent had mastered the secret of the Byakugan. Staring at the spiral wound on Neji's back, Kidōmaru realized that the attack had missed by several centimeters. The immense energy had displaced the arrow. As a fellow ninja, he understood how painful releasing such an amount of chakra could be. Now, Neji struggled to rise, facing the strongest opponent he had ever met. After only a brief exchange, Kidōmaru had grasped his weakness. The Byakugan indeed had a narrow blind spot. For attacks aimed at the first thoracic vertebra, the Byakugan could not see. Suddenly, Neji moved. As he ran, he pulled out the arrow stuck in his back. Moving indeed made the blind spot unpredictable. But this was meaningless to Kidōmaru. He drew another arrow and began to aim. As Neji ran dodging, this time the arrow's tail was connected to the spider silk from Kidōmaru's mouth, allowing the angle to be controlled during flight, thus constantly aiming at Neji's blind spot. Amidst a cloud of dust, Neji's forehead protector was blown away, and blood seemed to pierce through his skull. Seeing the spider silk, Neji immediately realized how Kidōmaru controlled the direction. When the attack missed again, Kidōmaru leaped to the treetops, creating a rapidly spinning arrow. In this way, he could avoid the previous mistake. Combined with the control of the spider silk, Neji would surely not survive. Neji's chakra was nearly depleted, and he could no longer dodge the opponent's next attack. But remembering Naruto's determined gaze, Neji made his decision at that moment. Kidōmaru drew his bow and aimed a powerful arrow straight at Neji, who turned around. The arrow hit Neji squarely and even pierced through the large tree behind him. This time, Kidōmaru was certain that his opponent could not survive. However, Neji smiled. He used the last of his strength to grasp the spider silk and execute Jyuken. Chakra flowed up the spider silk and struck Kidōmaru's body directly. Kidōmaru fell straight from the tree. In his view, Neji's dying counterattack was futile. Neji, covered in blood, continually recalled every word and action of Naruto. From that day, Neji believed he could change his own fate. He could not let down Naruto's trust in him. After all, Naruto genuinely believed Neji was a genius. Thinking this, Neji quickly cut the spider silk and ran towards the falling Kidōmaru. Just as Kidōmaru regained control of his body, Neji was already in front of him. Without any words, Neji raised his hand and delivered a series of Jyuken strikes. Finally, Kidōmaru was fiercely kicked to the ground. Before dying, Kidōmaru incredulously asked Neji why he was still alive. The answer was simple. Neji had decided to intentionally be hit. He knew his own weaknesses better than anyone else. So, by releasing chakra within that range, he could sense the opponent's attack in advance and thus avoid vital points. Although still seriously injured, he would not die instantly. Kidōmaru couldn't understand. Even so, you will eventually die. Why go to such lengths? Neji calmly said, among those he had fought. The strongest one had said, "You and I are different. You are not a laggard." Neji was always called a genius, so he could not afford to lose. Soon, both Kidōmaru and Neji entered a near-death state. The forehead protector on the ground reminded Neji of Hiyashi's words. He was not willing to just die like this. Kidōmaru still believed that the course of events would not change because of Neji's sacrifice. Sasuke had joined Orochimaru of his own free will, but Neji firmly believed that Naruto could rescue Sasuke from the darkness because he himself had been saved from the darkness by Naruto. At this point, Kidōmaru could no longer sustain his shattered body and closed his eyes. Meanwhile, Neji collapsed weakly on the ground, repeatedly recalling his past. Whether it was happy or sad, it was uniquely irreplaceable. Now, he could only entrust the mission to his trustworthy comrades. Sakon and Tayuya, carrying Sasuke, hurried without wasting any time. As evening fell, Shikamaru and the others followed closely behind. With only 2 opponents left, Naruto and Kiba seemed to see the light of victory. But Shikamaru, as the team leader, remained vigilant and did not dare to relax. After nightfall, Shikamaru decided to wait until dawn to take action. Naruto immediately objected. However, Shikamaru believed that a night attack was too risky. If they couldn't seize the moment, the opponent would be on high alert. Hearing this, Naruto agreed to Shikamaru's tactics. According to Orochimaru's orders, Sasuke must be delivered by tomorrow. Thus, Tayuya and Sakon did not pause for a moment. In the forest shrouded by night, screams could be heard. It was Orochimaru, whose hands were bloodied and constantly in excruciating pain due to the Hokage's seal, wishing only for Sasuke to come to him quickly. But Kabuto believed that Orochimaru's body had reached its limits. If the transference was not performed now, all would be lost. Holding a grudge against the 3rd Hokage, Orochimaru agreed to an early transference. Soon, Kabuto went deep into the stronghold, opened the sealed door, and said to the group of ninjas walking in the darkness, "I will let you out, but only one can go." The implication was clear. After saying this, Kabuto turned and left, heading to Kimimaro's room. The seriously ill Kimimaro was filled with various tubes, regretting not being able to carry out the mission. Kabuto feigned comfort, telling him not to think too much, and to take good care of his health. Orochimaru had already found a replacement, someone with the power of the Earth-Cursed Seal, and also granted him the Heaven-Cursed Seal. He also possessed a Kekkei Genkai. Who is stronger compared to you? Already brainwashed, Kimimaro immediately became agitated. Kimimaro had always been searching for his purpose in this world, believing he had found it as Orochimaru's vessel. But Kabuto indicated that he had lost this qualification. The new vessel was already on its way. Meanwhile, the only survivor slowly walked to the exit, but Orochimaru appeared beside him, seemingly surrounded by a giant snake, understanding his fate. He hoped Orochimaru would release his clan members. Orochimaru agreed. With a scream, his body was forcibly taken over by Orochimaru. As a result, Orochimaru would not be able to transfer bodies for the next few years, and Sasuke was being prepared as the next vessel. Kimimaro forcefully got up. He was determined to bring Sasuke back, even if it cost him his life. This was to repay Orochimaru's kindness. On the other side, Sasuke was about to awaken, but Naruto and his team had already reached Tayuya and Sakon. After a night of pursuit, they had finally caught up with them. Sakon immediately lunged at the trio. Naruto quickly summoned clones and started forming a Rasengan. Kiba and Shikamaru rushed forward to intercept, but were hit by Sakon's barrage of punches. Just as Sakon reached them, Naruto's Rasengan struck. However, his hands were caught in an unusual manner by the opponent, causing the Rasengan to dissipate. Sakon thought he had the upper hand, but the next second, a Gatsuga went right through Naruto's body. It turned out that this Naruto was also a clone. Sakon quickly ducked to evade, but Kiba charged directly at Tayuya behind him. Tayuya tried to dodge, but was frozen in place by Shikamaru's Kagamane no Jutsu. Kiba took the opportunity to grab the coffin and escape. Meanwhile, Tayuya collided with Sakon under Shikamaru's control. The trio immediately fled. An annoyed Sakon activated the first stage of the cursed seal and chased after them. Elsewhere, Kimimaro had left the base and was slowly approaching Naruto and his group. With the close coordination of Naruto and Kiba, the group finally retrieved the coffin containing Sasuke. Akamaru had laid exploding tags along the retreat path. As soon as Sakon stepped into the trap, he was engulfed in roaring explosions. Dust and smoke rose everywhere, but Sakon was not seriously injured. Instead, Akamaru slipped and fell, giving Sakon an opportunity. He threw out a steel wire and firmly bound Akamaru. Seeing the exploding tags about to blow, Kiba rushed forward recklessly to rescue him, but he and Sakon fell into a deep abyss in the forest together. Naruto was frantic, but Tayuya had already caught up. Shikamaru decided he would handle Tayuya, allowing Naruto to proceed with the coffin. However, Tayuya suddenly stopped in shock. At the same time, a figure dropped from the sky behind Naruto and Shikamaru. Kimimaro gently kicked and took back the coffin. He reprimanded Tayuya for being too slow. This container was carrying Kimimaro's important dream. Although Kimimaro appeared calm and composed, the aura he emitted made Shikamaru very uneasy. Just as he was contemplating a strategy, Naruto charged towards the opponent, but was sent flying by a punch from Tayuya. Kimimaro didn't intend to fight. He leaned over and threatened Tayuya. "I will not kill you now because you must stay alive. Naruto and Shikamaru are yours to deal with," he said, then carried the coffin and left directly. Naruto gritted his teeth, wishing he could immediately chase after him. Soon, Shikamaru stood up, seriously saying it was 2 against 1, which was advantageous for them. Then, he and Naruto attacked together. Tayuya quickly prepared for battle, blocking Shikamaru's kunai head-on, but then Naruto unexpectedly jumped over her head. This was their real strategy. Shikamaru would hold Tayuya back while Naruto chased after Kimimaro. Although Tayuya was furious, she still alertly dodged Shikamaru's Kagamane no Jutsu. Naruto rapidly advanced forward, inwardly cheering for Shikamaru. In the base, the newly revived Orochimaru, knowing that Kimimaro was fighting desperately for him, complained that Kabuto's provocation was somewhat cruel. However, Kabuto clarified that he had not given any orders. Kimimaro was acting purely out of his own will. For Orochimaru, Kimimaro was a perfect being. The young man revered him as a deity, willing to give his life unhesitatingly. Meanwhile, Kimimaro had left the dense forest and come to a grassland. Naruto had caught up with him, his face fierce, barely able to suppress his inner anger. Kimimaro, however, remained terrifyingly calm. Naruto questioned Kimimaro why Orochimaru wanted Sasuke. Kimimaro did not hide the truth. Orochimaru had mastered the ninjutsu of immortality, but his body could not remain in its current state indefinitely. Therefore, before his body decayed, he needed a new body as a vessel for his soul. This revelation nearly drove Naruto berserk. The red chakra began to boil like burning flames deep in the forest. Shikamaru faced off against Tayuya, who was puzzled. Is Sasuke really that important? To sacrifice so much for one person? Shikamaru, with a calm expression, admitted he was not suited to be a team leader, and was unsure if his decisions were correct. However, the only thing he could do was trust his teammates, and he absolutely did not believe that his teammates had already been sacrificed. As their conversation went nowhere, Tayuya used Kuchiyose no Jutsu to summon 3 large puppets behind her. In the abyss, Kiba was continuously at a disadvantage in his fight against Sakon. For some reason, although he touched the opponent, he could not inflict any damage, and instead, he was always hit by inexplicable attacks. Out of desperation, he and Akamaru resorted to using Gatsuga together, but they were elbowed by Sakon and Ukon. Even a third foot appeared to block them. According to Orochimaru and Kabuto, Sakon was the strongest of the Sound Ninja 4, never leaving survivors in battle. Elsewhere, Naruto summoned many shadow clones, preparing for a decisive battle with Kimimaro, who always looked down on others. This arrogance and confidence came from his strength. Although Naruto had a numerical advantage, he could easily clear them away. 2 white bone spikes extended from his palms, and countless Narutos surged toward Kimimaro like a tide. Meanwhile, Tayuya played a melodious tune, and the 3 puppets launched an offensive against Shikamaru, who struggled to cope and was gradually forced away from Tayuya. Tayuya had already activated the first stage of the Cursed Seal. Kiba and Akamaru, who had used Gatsuga, were successively knocked away by Sakon and Ukon. It turned out Sakon and Ukon were brothers. Usually, as the older brother, Ukon would sleep inside Sakon's body, only appearing during battle. Moreover, Ukon could extend limbs from any part of the body for attack and defense. Kiba and Akamaru had no chance to counter. Sakon and Ukon were tired of this uninteresting game and opened the second stage of the Cursed Seal, planning to quickly end the fight as Ukon's hobby was dismembering corpses. Akamaru and Kiba immediately sensed their chakra surge tens of times higher. Meanwhile, under Kimimaro's fierce offensive, most of Naruto's shadow clones had dissipated, and Kimimaro was ready to fight seriously. Shikamaru was very passive on his side, Tayuya's techniques forcing him to constantly dodge. On all 3 battlefields, the Konohagakure people were in perilous situations. Akamaru suggested that Kiba use a recently developed ninjutsu, but Kiba hesitated, knowing it would deplete their chakra completely. However, Sakon and Ukon's strength was too overwhelming. Now they had to take a risk and use Garuga to end it. Kiba first engaged Sakon and Ukon in close combat, then tightly restrained them, preventing them from moving. Akamaru took the opportunity to mark them. The duo quickly distanced themselves and merged into a white 2-headed wolf. However, Sakon and Ukon did not consider Kiba a threat. The 2-headed wolf started spinning rapidly, attacking them like a fierce tornado. Due to the earlier markings, Sakon and Ukon could not evade, and the high-speed rotational force tore their bodies in half. But just as Kiba breathed a sigh of relief, Sakon and Ukon's shattered bodies regrew limbs. It turned out the brothers could act independently, and Kiba's move was exactly what they expected. The real battle was just beginning, but Kiba and Akamaru were already near their limit, with only enough chakra left for one more use of Garuga. With no other choice, as Garuga attacked again, Sakon and Ukon immediately dodged behind 2 stone pillars. Kiba changed direction to continue the chase. However, the brothers quickly made hand seals, summoning the strongest defense to protect Orochimaru, Rashomon. The double-headed wolf's impact only left minor traces. Finally, Kiba and Akamaru both fell. Sakon and Ukon thought to take advantage of this, but Akamaru, to protect his master, expelled his last strength to spray strong acid, hitting Sakon's eyes, but he himself was severely injured by a punch from the opponent. Kiba was heartbroken as he considered Akamaru a partner. Then, he realized Ukon had disappeared. He heard a voice from beside his ear. It turned out Ukon had eerily merged into his body. Sakon hurriedly ran to the river to wash his eyes. Among the Sound Ninja 4, Ukon specialized in assassination, relying on this ability, the parasitic demon destruction technique. In the second stage of the Cursed Seal, he would disperse his body to enter the enemy's body, destroying their meridian system. Kiba restrained Ukon's actions while recalling his past with Akamaru. Kiba's family and the Ninken were partners. During the Chunin exams, Naruto also suffered a lot at the hands of this duo. The bond between Kiba and Akamaru, reflecting in every little aspect of life. Suddenly Kiba couldn't figure out how to counter the opponent's ninjutsu, but he caught an important piece of information in Ukon's words. My cells can move freely inside your body, which means a slight state of fusion. Only to see Kiba suddenly pull out a kunai, and without hesitation stab it into his own stomach. Both Kiba and Ukon spurted blood at the same time. This was the only way to counter this move. The intense pain made both Kiba and Ukon scream in agony. Ukon was well aware that his ninjutsu was powerful, because it hid inside the opponent's body, making it unattackable. Someone like Kiba, willing to die with him, was unprecedented. Kiba raised the kunai again. Seeing that the opponent did not hesitate, Ukon hurriedly left Kiba's body. Such a severe injury made him start to weaken. While Kiba was at his wit's end, he threw a smoke bomb and took the chance to hide. When the smoke cleared, Ukon could no longer find Kiba's trace, only to see the injured Akamaru left behind. He approached, intending to end the life of the Ninken, but Kiba would never abandon his companion. Suddenly, Akamaru's body began to swell and exploded, shooting out numerous hidden weapons. Finding that Akamaru was not in immediate danger, cried with joy, but his injuries were no less severe than Akamaru's. The story of Kiba and Akamaru began one afternoon. That day Kiba's mother and sister brought Akamaru to him, reminding him that from that moment on, he was responsible for everything about Akamaru. The man and dog quickly became best friends, to become stronger. They worked together to develop new ninjutsu. Perhaps because of Akamaru's presence, Kiba never felt alone. Thinking of this, Kiba secretly made up his mind. No matter what happens in the future, he would never part with Akamaru. The trapped Ukon was bleeding profusely. He could only place his desire for revenge on his brother Sakon, who was washing his eyes because it was time for him to go to sleep. Sakon never expected that his brother could be driven to such an extent. The brothers rejoined before falling asleep. Ukon reminded his brother to make sure to capture the person who hurt him. Meanwhile, Naruto was also caught in a tense battle. He had thought he could easily win against Kimimaro with a numerical advantage, but his opponent's strength was too formidable. As his shadow clones kept getting fewer, Naruto controlled the three in the front to engage in close combat. But it was equally futile. Kimimaro, wielding a bone spike, charged with Willow Dance. Naruto's shadow clones could hardly resist disappearing into smoke one after another. Then, with each move, he managed to scatter a few clones, and Naruto finally discovered the secret of the opponent's weapon. The spike was actually made of bone. This was Kimimaro's Kekkei Genkai. He opened his shirt to reveal pale skin, bones rapidly growing and extending from his shoulders. He pulled out his own bones, turning them into a sharp blade. Naruto immediately threw 2 kunai, but Kimimaro blocked them with his bone blade. He could control the density of calcium, making his bones as hard as steel. Kimimaro also mastered 5 dances. While talking, a coffin carrying Sasuke began emitting purple smoke, and Kimimaro was ready to show his camellia dance. In the depths, Sakon and Ukon followed the dripping blood towards Kiba. Blood loss was making Kiba increasingly sluggish, but he could not just wait to die. Sakon and Ukon found Kiba's blood-stained coat by the river. From the direction of the bloodstains, it was clear that Kiba had escaped along the river. In the forest, Shikamaru, cornered by 3 puppets, had no way out. This was the cleverness of Tayuya. After long training, she could cleverly use the opportunity to have the three puppets spread out and besiege Shikamaru. But Shikamaru realized that Tayuya was controlling the puppets' movements through her flute music, and each tune of her flute controlled different actions of the puppets. But Shikamaru could not understand the notes. He thought the notes looked like tadpoles, and the irritable Tayuya also had murderous intentions. She began to play her final piece, Demonic Realm Turmoil,